a rising marketing agency in downtown Atlanta, glass walls and modern vibes everywhere. That's where I first met Sarah, the CEO who seemed to have it all figured out. Her social media presence, flawless. Her presentations, always on point. Her agency, growing faster than anyone could have predicted. From the outside, she was the blueprint of success that young entrepreneurs wanted to follow. But here's where it gets interesting. Behind every viral campaign, every standing ovation, and every industry award was Jordan, her brilliant creative director. While Sarah was out there becoming the face of the company, Jordan was in the office until 3 a.m., crafting the strategies that made their clients' brands blow up online. His ideas weren't just good, they were game-changing. The kind that made competitors scratch their heads wondering, how did they think of that? At first, Jordan didn't mind staying in the background. He believed in the work, loved the craft, and thought his time would come. But month after month, he watched Sarah take credit for his innovations in industry magazines, on podcasts, and at conferences. My groundbreaking approach, she'd say, or my unique vision, words that felt like paper cuts to Jordan's spirit every time he heard them. The breaking point? It wasn't just one moment. It was the accumulation of 1,000 small betrayals. Like when Sarah presented Jordan's revolutionary social media strategy at the Digital Marketing Summit, without even mentioning his name, or when she accepted the Innovation in Marketing Award, thanking everyone except the person who actually created the campaign. But Jordan wasn't about to let his story end there. While Sarah was busy building her personal brand, he was quietly documenting everything. Every email, every presentation draft, every late-night message where she asked for just one more brilliant idea. He knew his worth, and more importantly, he knew exactly how to prove it. What Sarah didn't realize was that success built on someone else's foundation is like a house of cards. One wrong move, and everything comes tumbling down. Jordan's response: let's just say it was as creative as his marketing campaigns, but this time he was working on his own brand. The industry was about to witness something they never saw coming. A tale of redemption that would have everyone talking, but not in the way Sarah had gotten used to. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with class, strategy, and perfect timing. Want to know what Jordan did next? How he turned the tables without compromising his integrity? And most importantly, how this story changed the conversation about credit and recognition in the creative industry. Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive into how one person's decision to stand up for themselves sent ripples through the entire marketing world. Remember, success stories aren't always what they seem on the surface. Sometimes the real story is happening behind the scenes, where the true creators are quietly planning their next move. And in this case, what happened next would leave the entire industry speechless. But before we get to that part, drop a comment below with your thoughts. Have you ever been in a situation where someone else took credit for your work? How did you handle it? Let's start this conversation, because this story, it's just getting started. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you want to catch the next part of this story. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Let's dive back into where we left off with this story that's been making waves across social media. Before we get into Jordan's master plan, we need to roll back the clock a bit to understand how things got to this breaking point. 3 years earlier, Jordan had joined the agency as a mid-level creative, bringing fresh ideas and an understanding of digital culture that the company desperately needed. Sarah recognized his talent immediately, or more accurately, she recognized how his talent could benefit her. At first, their dynamic seemed perfect. She would open doors with her connections, and he would create the magic that walked through them. The first red flag appeared during their biggest client pitch of the year. Jordan had spent weeks developing a groundbreaking social media strategy for a major sportswear brand. The morning of the presentation, Sarah asked him to wait outside the conference room. "It'll be less confusing if I present solo," she said with that signature smile that would become all too familiar. The campaign was a massive success, landing them the client and industry recognition. But in every interview and press release, Jordan's name was mysteriously absent. This pattern continued as the agency grew. Sarah began positioning herself as a thought leader, writing LinkedIn posts about creativity and innovation, posts that were eerily similar to conversations she'd had with Jordan the day before. She started a YouTube channel sharing her marketing secrets, which were actually strategies Jordan had developed for their clients. What made it worse was how Sarah would sometimes throw him a bone in private. "You're the backbone of this company," she'd say, or "I couldn't do this without you." But those words rang hollow when she'd turn around and tell industry podcasts about how she developed their viral marketing approach. The agency's culture shifted too. New employees would look at Jordan differently after seeing Sarah take credit for his work in team meetings. Some even started bypassing him to pitch ideas directly to her, knowing she'd present them as her own innovations. But here's where it gets interesting. While Sarah was building her personal brand on borrowed ideas, Jordan was building something of his own, evidence. He started keeping a detailed digital trail of every interaction, every concept presentation, every strategy document. He saved emails where Sarah explicitly asked him for ideas she'd later claim as her own. He documented video calls where she sought his guidance on topics she'd later present herself as an expert in. The real turning point came during a major marketing conference in New York. Sarah was scheduled to give the keynote speech about her revolutionary approach to digital storytelling, an approach Jordan had actually developed for their biggest client's holiday campaign. Sitting in the audience, watching her confidently present his work to thousands of industry professionals, something in Jordan shifted. That night in his hotel room, he started putting his plan together. It wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition, about standing up for every creative who'd ever had their ideas stolen by someone with more power but less integrity, about changing a culture that allowed this kind of behavior to thrive. He reached out to a few trusted industry contacts, people who had always seen through Sarah's facade. They were ready to back him up when the time came. He also connected with former employees who had similar experiences with Sarah, building a network of support that would prove invaluable. But the real genius of Jordan's plan wasn't in what he was about to reveal. It was in how he planned to reveal it. He knew that in the age of social media, timing and presentation were everything, and he was about to put all his marketing expertise to use in a way Sarah never saw coming. Want to know what Jordan did next? How he managed to expose the truth while protecting his professional reputation? Stay tuned for the next part of this story, where everything starts to unravel in the most unexpected way. The perfect opportunity presented itself when the agency was nominated for Digital Agency of the Year. The award ceremony was set to be the biggest industry event of the season, with every major player in attendance. Sarah, of course, was already preparing her acceptance speech, confident in their win after their record-breaking year. What she didn't know was that Jordan had spent the last 3 months meticulously preparing for this moment. He had compiled a digital portfolio, not just of his work, but of the entire creative team's contributions that Sarah had claimed as her own. The portfolio wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to reveal the truth about collective creativity and giving credit where it's due. The week before the ceremony, Jordan launched a series of LinkedIn posts showcasing behind-the-scenes looks at successful marketing campaigns. Nothing controversial, just honest stories about teamwork and collaboration. These posts started gaining traction, especially among creative professionals who'd experienced similar situations. The comment sections filled with their own stories, creating a movement that nobody saw coming. Meanwhile, Sarah was riding high on her latest media appearances. She had just finished a round of interviews about her innovative approach to digital marketing, unaware that Jordan had scheduled something special to drop right after the awards ceremony. He had lined up features with 3 major industry publications, each telling a different part of the story, each backed by concrete evidence. The tension in the office was thick enough to cut with a knife. Some team members had noticed the subtle shift in dynamics, the way Jordan carried himself with newfound confidence. A few had even started connecting the dots after seeing his recent social media activity. Sarah, however, remained oblivious, too caught up in her own narrative to notice the changing tide. The night of the awards ceremony arrived. The venue was packed with industry leaders, all dressed to impress. Jordan sat at the agency's table, directly across from Sarah, watching as she networked with her usual charm. Every time she told someone about her latest innovation, you took a small sip of water, a private game to stay calm as the minutes ticked by. Just before the main award announcement, Jordan excused himself to the restroom. In reality, he stepped outside to make a quick phone call to confirm everything was in place. His hands weren't shaking anymore. He felt surprisingly peaceful about what was about to unfold. Back inside, the host took the stage to present the Digital Agency of the Year award. The room fell silent. Sarah gripped her chair, ready to stand up and claim another victory. The spotlight swept across the room as the host opened the envelope. But here's where things get really interesting, because what happened next wasn't just about exposing Sarah. It was about changing the entire conversation around creativity and recognition in the industry. Jordan's plan wasn't focused on revenge. It was about creating a movement that would make people think twice before taking credit for others' work. As the host began to speak, Jordan's phone lit up with a series of notifications. Everything was falling into place exactly as planned. Sarah noticed his screen lighting up, and for the first time that evening, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. She had no idea that in the next few moments, everything she had built on other people's talent was about to be challenged in the most unexpected way. Want to find out what happened when the truth finally came to light? How did the industry react? And most importantly, what unexpected turn of events made this story go viral across social media? Stay tuned for the final part, where all the pieces come together in a way that nobody saw coming. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to catch the conclusion of this story that's about to change how we think about creativity and credit in the professional world. Trust me, the ending is worth the wait. Just as the host was about to announce the winner, the large screens behind the stage suddenly flickered. Instead of the usual awards ceremony graphics, they displayed a split screen of dozens of video clips, Sarah's interviews on one side and the original team meetings and brainstorming sessions on the other. The timestamps made it crystal clear. Every innovative idea she claimed as her own had come from team discussions days or weeks before her public announcements. The room fell into stunned silence. Sarah's face paled as she watched her carefully crafted image begin to unravel. But that wasn't even the biggest surprise of the evening, because right then, something unexpected happened that nobody, not even Jordan, had planned for. One of their biggest clients, the CEO of the sportswear brand that had put their agency on the map, stood up from his table. "I think," he said, his voice carrying across the silent room, "we need to have a serious conversation about integrity in our industry." He then revealed that his company had been conducting their own investigation into the agency's creative process for the past month. Sarah's phone started buzzing incessantly. Journalists, industry contacts, and board members all demanding answers. But before she could react, another twist unfolded. Several former employees from different agencies started sharing similar stories on social media in real time, using the hashtag give credit where it's due. Within minutes, it was trending. The screens continued playing, showing email threads, meeting recordings, and timestamp after timestamp of original ideation sessions. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Mixed in with the evidence were clips of other team members' contributions that even Jordan hadn't known about. The story was no longer just about him. It had evolved into something much bigger. Jordan watched as Sarah's carefully constructed facade crumbled, but he felt no joy in it. Instead, he felt a wave of responsibility as he realized this moment was bigger than their personal conflict. This wasn't just about exposing one person's actions. It was about changing an entire industry's culture. Then came the moment that truly changed everything. The agency's junior creative team, inspired by what they were witnessing, stood up one by one. They each held up their phones, displaying examples of their own work that had been claimed by others. It wasn't planned. It wasn't coordinated. It was raw, real, and revolutionary. The awards ceremony had transformed into something unprecedented. Industry leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the spotlight suddenly turned on a practice that had been swept under the rug for far too long. But Sarah wasn't going down without a fight. She grabbed the microphone, and what she said next left everyone gasping. Want to know what bombshell Sarah dropped in her desperate attempt to maintain control? How did the industry's biggest names react to this public unveiling? And most importantly, what happened when the truth about the agency's biggest campaign victory was finally revealed? Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll uncover the shocking truth that even Jordan didn't see coming. Because sometimes when you pull one thread, the entire fabric starts to unravel in ways you never expected. Before we get to that mind-blowing revelation, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on workplace integrity. Have you witnessed similar situations? How do you think our industry can do better? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next in this story that's reshaping how we think about creativity and recognition in the professional world. Just as the host was about to announce the winner, the large screens behind the stage suddenly flickered. Instead of the usual awards ceremony graphics, they displayed a split screen of dozens of video clips, Sarah's interviews on one side and the original team meetings and brainstorming sessions on the other. The timestamps made it crystal clear. Every innovative idea she claimed as her own had come from team discussions days or weeks before her public announcements. The room fell into stunned silence. Sarah's face paled as she watched her carefully crafted image begin to unravel. But that wasn't even the biggest surprise of the evening, because right then, something unexpected happened that nobody, not even Jordan, had planned for. One of their biggest clients, the CEO of the sportswear brand that had put their agency on the map, stood up from his table. "I think," he said, his voice carrying across the silent room, "we need to have a serious conversation about integrity in our industry." He then revealed that his company had been conducting their own investigation into the agency's creative process for the past month. Sarah's phone started buzzing incessantly, journalists, industry contacts, and board members all demanding answers. But before she could react, another twist unfolded. Several former employees from different agencies started sharing similar stories on social media in real time, using the hashtag give credit where it's due. Within minutes, it was trending. The screens continued playing, showing email threads, meeting recordings, and timestamp after timestamp of original ideation sessions. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Mixed in with the evidence were clips of other team members' contributions that even Jordan hadn't known about. The story was no longer just about him. It had evolved into something much bigger. Jordan watched as Sarah's carefully constructed facade crumbled, but he felt no joy in it. Instead, he felt a wave of responsibility as he realized this moment was bigger than their personal conflict. This wasn't just about exposing one person's actions. It was about changing an entire industry's culture. Then came the moment that truly changed everything. The agency's junior creative team, inspired by what they were witnessing, stood up one by one. They each held up their phones, displaying examples of their own work that had been claimed by others. It wasn't planned. It wasn't coordinated. It was raw, real, and revolutionary. The awards ceremony had transformed into something unprecedented. Industry leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the spotlight suddenly turned on a practice that had been swept under the rug for far too long. But Sarah wasn't going down without a fight. She grabbed the microphone, and what she said next left everyone gasping. Want to know what bombshell Sarah dropped in her desperate attempt to maintain control? How did the industry's biggest names react to this public unveiling? And most importantly, what happened when the truth about the agency's biggest campaign victory was finally revealed? Stay tuned for the next part, where we'll uncover the shocking truth that even Jordan didn't see coming. Because sometimes, when you pull one thread, the entire fabric starts to unravel in ways you never expected. Before we get to that mind-blowing revelation, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on workplace integrity. Have you witnessed similar situations? How do you think our industry can do better? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next in this story that's reshaping how we think about creativity and recognition in the professional world. Sarah grabbed the microphone, her voice shaking with a mix of anger and desperation. "You want to talk about credit? Let's talk about how this entire agency would have failed without my connections, my reputation, my ability to bring in clients." But as she spoke, more evidence continued playing on the screens. now showing emails where clients specifically praised Jordan and the creative team's work, only to have Sarah reframe it as her own vision in public statements. The sportswear brand CEO stepped forward again, this time with an announcement that changed everything. "We're not just here to expose problems," he said. "We're here to solve them." He revealed that his company was launching a new initiative requiring all their partner agencies to implement transparent credit systems for creative work. Several other major brands in the audience stood up to join the pledge. The industry was changing right before their eyes, and in that moment, something remarkable happened. One of the junior creatives who had stood up earlier stepped forward. "Ms. Thompson," she said, addressing Sarah directly, "we never wanted to take away your contributions. We just wanted you to acknowledge ours too." That simple statement shifted the energy in the room. This wasn't about tearing someone down. It was about lifting everyone up. Jordan finally stood up, and for the first time that evening, he spoke publicly. "The best ideas come from collaboration," he said. "No one person can claim ownership of creativity. It's time we celebrate that truth." The aftermath was swift, but not what anyone expected. Rather than the agency falling apart, it transformed. Sarah stepped down as CEO, but instead of a scandal, it became a story of redemption. She published a lengthy apology, acknowledging her mistakes and pledging to mentor young professionals about the importance of ethical leadership. The agency, it didn't just survive, it thrived. Under new leadership, with Jordan as Chief Creative Officer, they implemented a transparent credit system that became an industry standard. Every campaign now showcased the entire team's contributions, from interns to executives. Their first campaign under this new system, a powerful series about authentic leadership and collective creativity. 6 months later, at another industry event, Jordan found himself back on stage, this time accepting an award for innovation in leadership. But unlike before, he wasn't alone. He brought his entire creative team up with him, each person speaking about their contribution to the agency's success. The story went viral, not just in marketing circles, but across all professional industries. #GiveCreditCreates evolved into a movement, inspiring companies worldwide to examine their own practices around recognition and credit. And Sarah? She did something unexpected. She started consulting with companies about transforming toxic workplace cultures, using her own story as a cautionary tale. Her TED Talk, From Taking Credit to Giving Credit, a leadership journey, became one of the most watched videos in the series. The most beautiful part, the agency's creative output got even better. When people feel seen and appreciated, they pour their hearts into their work. Their campaigns became more innovative, more authentic, and more successful than ever before. Looking back, that night at the awards ceremony didn't just change one agency. It sparked a revolution in how we think about creativity, leadership, and recognition. It proved that true success isn't about claiming other people's ideas as your own. It's about creating an environment where everyone can shine. So here's the real question for all of us. How will you use your influence? Will you be the leader who steps on others to reach the top, or the one who lifts others up along the way? If this story taught us anything, it's that real leadership isn't about taking credit. It's about giving it. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can say is, "This wasn't just my idea. Let me tell you about the amazing people who helped make it happen." Thanks for watching this story till the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you found value in this message. Together, we can create a professional world where creativity and collaboration thrive, and everyone's contribution is celebrated.